Hello, everybody. This is Roger from Rogers Reviews, and I grew up in a middle-class family, and my parents were separated, divorced, whatever you want to call it, when I was like sixth grade. My dad worked in a factory. My grandpa worked in a factory. My mom worked in a factory. Um, Definitely middle class. Lived up in Ohio, but we went to a good school. We always had food on the table. Sometimes things were tight. We didn't always get everything we wanted. But I'm glad I grew up that way because nothing was handed to me. Whatever we wanted, we went out and worked for. My mom taught us how to work hard and go out and get what we wanted to get. Um, so I have a very good work ethic, but they never taught me anything about finances. They just said, go out, get a good job, go to college, you know, get as much education as you can, and basically you'll be able to retire someday, hopefully. Well, my dad was really never able to retire. He worked until the day he died. My mom is 78 years old. She's still working. She can't retire. So, and they've all worked their tails off. They've never hardly taken vacations, and they've just never been able to hardly get ahead. So, um, I've been watching a lot of videos. I wish I would have knew this early on, and I'm going to teach my children this because it's very important. This is what all wealthy people teach their children. And once you learn this and you can get ahead, and maybe someday your children don't have to work as hard as you, and maybe someday you'll be able to retire and you won't have to work until you die. So, this is basically my little gist. And all this information I've learned off the internet or off YouTube or just watching videos. This is none of my ideas. Hopefully, I can get them across and you can understand them. But this is just my version. And I watched financial education. That's where I got a lot of this stuff from. I've watched Solving the Money Problem. I've watched Now You Know, Tesla Daily. Um, just there's a lot of ones I watch. Galileo, um, Hyperchange. But this is what my gist of it. Okay, when you start out, um, you know, from 0 year old to 10 years old, you basically go to school. You have no income. And then, when you're 10 to 14, you're middle school, you have like maybe a little part-time job like delivering newspapers or mowing grass or whatever. And then in high school, you can work part-time, maybe get a job at McDonald's or Burger King or, start a lawn care service like I did. And then, you get out of high school, then you go to college, then you have another part-time job. You're really not making a lot of money. You're home. The only thing saving you is you're staying with your parents. You're working a part-time job. You're trying to buy a car. You're trying to buy a phone. You're trying to do, whatever, buy the new in style clothing, whatever, to be up and cool. And then by the time you get out of college, you're already, you know, taking out loans for college, or your parents are taking out loans. Your parents are trying to pay for your college. If they can't, you're taking out these pretty big loans that will follow you all the way into your, 25s and 30s. So then you got your college loans, and then you're starting a job. Then you got to get out on your own. Then you got car payments. Then you got bills. You got utility payments. Then you got your college loan on top of it, and it's just like piling up. So basically, you're barely making it. You barely got a job, and all these expenses basically just keep piling on to where you never can get out of debt because you're always wanting to buy a new car, bigger house, blah blah blah. So by the time you get down to retirement, you know, barely, you have to depend on Social Security, and you have to work part time. You have to, try to make ends meet. Well, we want to change that. Um, we want to basically start investing when we're as young as possible, and then that way, when you have children, you already have this taken care of. So basically, if you want to be in debt your whole life and continue to work till you die, this is the plan we're on. This is what they teach us in schools. This is basically, the American way. But if you're if you get taught this way, basically that's all you know. You never get. It's hard to change the mindset. But if you're poor, this is income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. If you're poor, you don't make much income, and basically all your money goes to expenses. You don't have any money, hardly any, for assets, and all you can do is like hopefully buy a car, or buy a house or buy whatever. And the more liabilities you buy, the more expenses you have. So you have no money to invest in assets, and your assets are like stocks, bonds, investments, to where they produce money. And we never were taught this, but we never have any money to do that, because we're all so worried about basically buying new cars, buying bigger houses, buying jewelry, buying all this stuff we really don't need, and trying to look like we have money, but it really makes us even poorer. So the poor class can't even afford basically anything. All their incomes go to liabilities and expenses. Middle class, you make a little bit more money. So you work, you and your wife work at a factory, or you work at Amazon, or you work, whatever. So basically, you can afford a bigger house, you can afford a nicer car, you have more kids, you buy your kids more stuff, what have you. But you take all your money and you buy more liabilities, and you have more expenses. So you never put your money back in the assets, okay? Then you have your rich people, your people that we consider rich, like your athletes, your doctors, your lawyers, your people that make a lot of money, and they have, they buy their Ferraris, they have a few houses, they've got a lot of assets, they've got jewelry, they've got anything you could possibly imagine they have. But the problem is, the more income they have, the more expenses they buy. They don't take that money and buy assets. So just because they have more houses, more cars, more jewelry, more this, more that, eventually that money goes away, because when when you're playing sports, or you're making money, even 10 or 20 million or whatever, if you don't take that money and invest it, eventually you're not going to be able to play sports your whole life. Some of those guys only play sports like maybe 3, 4, 5 years, 8, 10 years the most. So I've seen a lot of people, like even like Mike Tyson, he made hundreds of millions of dollars, and now it's like it's all gone. So now he's having to, try to fight when he's 50 years old. If he would have took some of that money and bought assets, he would have made more money now than he ever did when he was fighting. So just because you're rich doesn't mean they always put the money in the right place. Now, there's a difference between rich and wealthy. Wealthy people teach your kids this before they even start making money, so they can start investing at a very young age. If you start investing at a very young age, it doesn't even matter if your parents are rich or not, because you can make your own wealth. So what you do when you're young, you don't have many expenses. So like, this is why I recommend, I know this is crazy, you probably think I'm crazy. Instead of going to college, or having your parents or you invest all this freaking money into college and being in debt and buying big cars, big houses, buying all this stuff, take that money and buy assets. Because this is what the wealthy people do. You buy assets with your income, and you eliminate and try to minimize your expenses and liabilities. When you buy assets, those assets create income. The more income you make, you can buy more assets. And more assets you have, the more income you have. So basically what it does, it creates a snowball effect. It starts out slow, and then eventually it's like a snowball. You can't even stop it. It just continues and continues and continues. And basically you have very little expenses and very little liabilities. For an example of this, I haven't been able to do this until just recently, because I finally paid off my expenses, and I've got minimized my expenses and my liabilities. So I can afford almost any car I want, but the best car payment is no car payment. So I bought a little Nissan Leaf, and instead of paying gas and oil changes and all that, the money I save, I invest. Paid off the place I live. So instead of making a rent payment or making a mortgage payment, that money goes into assets. So basically, instead of going out to eat all the time, big fancy restaurants, buying expensive clothing and all this expensive gear, I take every penny I got, take a little bit for a rainy day, you get enough to pay all your bills for a couple months or a year, get money saved so you can pay all your business expenses for 6 months to a year. So just take a year or whatever you think you need a year or two back, and then the rest of it you invest in assets. Those assets will become income, and that income you can reinvest in assets. And after a few years of this, you're going to be retired. So, and then also too, what's nice is once you have that income coming in from your assets, you can readjust and do what you want. Because a lot of times right now we're doing things that we just for income. So not necessarily are we doing exactly what we want. So once you get to the point where your assets are making more than you can at work, you can choose a job or you can pick something that you enjoy doing. And once you enjoy doing something, you're going to thrive at it, because if you enjoy doing it, you don't need it. If you can do something, if you get paid or not, you don't even care if you get paid. And it's basically what drives you, what gets you up in the morning, what makes you look forward to living. That is going to be the best job you can have, because if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. I love that saying. And another thing I like saying is make money while you sleep or work until you die. Find out how to make money while you're sleeping, or you're going to work until you die. So this is what we're talking about. We want to, if you're starting out here or here, it doesn't matter. If you can start out here and you have very little expenses, stay at home as long as you can. Make your parents kick you out. Get a job. Probably think I'm nuts. Instead of going to college, start working as early as you can. Take all that little money you got. Because if you start investing here, you're going to retire here. If you start investing here, you're going to retire here. Wouldn't you rather retire up here instead of down here? Because then you got your health and you got your vitality, and you can jump over buildings and do all kinds of stuff and enjoy your retirement while you're young. Don't wait till you're old and decrepit and your back hurts and you can barely walk, and sometimes you don't even know if you're going to live another day. Start investing early. Enjoy your retirement early. Enjoy your life. Pick and choose. Then you can pick and choose what you want to do. You run and then you can do your bucket list when you're 20 instead of 100. So retire early. Start building up your assets early in life. Don't worry about new cars. Don't worry about perfect diamond rings and clothing and big houses and all that nonsense. Work on your investments. Work on your assets first. Everything also be later. So anyway, this is Roger with Roger's Reviews. I hope you can make sense of this. This is what I've learned, and this is what I'm applying. I wish my parents or my teachers, I went to business school. I took accounting. I took freaking business sales, marketing. Even in high school, we were taught business accounting and business math and how to run a business and how to work for somebody and how to be on time, blah, 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 blah. They never taught us the fundamentals. This is the fundamentals right here. This is what everybody should teach their children. This is what everybody should learn from day one. Everything else can come later. This is what you need to teach your kids. This is what you need to be doing now. And now, if you do this, your kids can retire early, you can retire early, and you can spend more time with your family, and you can enjoy your life. This is Roger with Roger's Reviews. Please crush the like button. And like I said, this isn't my information. I'm just regurgitating this stuff. This is all stuff that we should have been taught when we were young. Thank you very much and have a great day. And if you want to watch the real version of this, the better version that you probably understand, you can watch Solving the Money Problem, Stephen Michael Ryan, Financial Education. That guy's freaking, he taught me this months ago, and I wish I would have watched it earlier. Galileo, Now You Know. All these channels are awesome, and I've been watching them, and I've been learning things, and I'm an old man, but you can teach it. Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? You can learn, and you can change your life no matter what age. So buy Tesla stock and retire young. Thanks, and have a great day.